So what are we going to do about it? And these are broadly the options that I can see. We could continue to do nothing. That's a perfectly valuable option. And it is essentially the one we've had for the last couple of decades. It's essentially the one on the table from all the political parties. You understand I'm overstating that, but broadly speaking, against that forecast, we haven't got a story to tell. We could try and improve public transport, and I confess that the parties all say they'll do that. We could change the taxes and charges for the road network, and I think we definitely should consider that. Or we could provide more capacity. I'm going to say quite a bit about that, but providing more capacity means both better management of what we have and the provision of more physical infrastructure. And the balance between those two things is clearly for debate. Public transport investment is, in the right circumstances, good policy. Not for a moment denying that. I think the simple arithmetic is it can't make much of a difference to the situation I've described at a reasonable cost. There simply is not enough of it. As I've put on the bottom of this slide, buses and rail each account for about 6% of the passenger market, and most of the rail travel, most of it, is in the London area. So in the rest of the country, the railways are not there. So you're talking about buses, and expanding the bus network enough to make a difference on a large scale is just going to be far, far too expensive. So public transport is a good thing to do. It will not address properly the problem I've outlined. The latest document that I'm aware of that the present government have issued was the one in January, broadly saying that their recipe was more hard shoulder running and active motorway management. Perfectly good policy in itself, very sensible, gives more capacity at low cost, very productive in terms of reducing accidents and smoothing traffic flow on the motorways, and so forth. It relates to about, as you see, about 340 lane miles of the motorway network, and it's part of a £6 billion programme of the hard shoulder running and so forth, and some other improvements. And I don't think there's much new capacity in the government's thinking for the local road network. Bits and pieces, but not substantive. Now, this is clearly a substantive response, but I assert, without, and I haven't got time to back that up, but I assert this is nowhere near enough to deal with the problem that I've outlined. In our own work at the Foundation, we reckoned on the back of a very big envelope, one could justify in economic terms using the kinds of methods that Eddington used, investing at the rate of 600 lane kilometres a year, every year between now and 2041, which was the rate of investment we used to achieve in the late 1980s and early 1990s. It's a lot more than we're doing now, that's for sure. It isn't unmanageable in terms of the amount of land you take and that kind of issue. So basically, that's why I say the government's plans are not adequate.